Okay, folks, I'm going to call the meeting to order. As required under the Planning Act, a public meeting is being held prior to the committee making a decision on these applications. First thing I would ask is that everyone here would have signed in at the back there. If you have, thank you. If you haven't, we would appreciate if you would do that. And just a couple of reminders. We live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel, and the recording is available after the meeting. Because meetings are accessible to the public in all of these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in these council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease, and we thank you for your cooperation. Having said all that, I will introduce the Committee of Adjustment. I'm Mr. Robertson, and we've got Mr. Strangway, we've got Mr. Finn, Mr. Erickson, and Ms. Richardson. Alrighty. And as staff persons here, we've got the Director of Development Services, Ms. Berry. We've got the Development Supervisor, Ms. Evans. Planner 2s, we've got Mr. Shahid and Mr. Okawat. And Mr. McKinnon, Supervisor, Plans, Review, and Inspections. And where are you on here? Mr. Lahi is our recording secretary. And all right, Secretary Treasurer. I'll be all right, close enough. All right, and our recording secretary is Ms. Crockford. All righty, I think I caught everyone there. All right. Now, are there any comments or questions with respect to the printed agenda? If none, can I get a motion to adopt that agenda as printed? Ms. Richardson, do I have a seconder? Mr. Erickson. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? And that carries. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? All right, we received the minutes via email, I guess we'll call it. Are there any questions or comments with respect to those minutes? All right, being none, I need a motion to approve those minutes as printed. Do I have Mr. Finn? Do I have a seconder? Mr. Strangway? No further comments or questions? All those in favor? And, all right, thank you for that. All right, so all those in favor then? That carries, thank you. All right. For the benefit of everyone sitting here and everyone that's online, the committee will hear comments, gather information, and may ask questions to clarify statements made. The committee may ask and answer questions or redirect questions to the appropriate person. Please note that any information or comments given to the committee during this meeting, they are considered evidence. We will first hear from staff, then the applicant or his or her agent. We will then hear from any person in support of or from those who have questions, concerns, or are opposed to the application. Finally, the applicant or his or her agent will have an opportunity to respond to any of the statements made to the committee. If you wish to speak and you are sitting here, I would ask that you raise your hand, and then I will ask you to come to the podium. There's a button there, I believe it says speak, or an S on it anyway, and you'll see a red light appear, and you're live then, and we can hear you speaking if you would do that. All right, and for those on the internet, if you wish to speak, when you come on, please give us your name, and then I will advise you to go ahead. We normally afford everyone that wishes to make a presentation 10 minutes. Most people don't even come close to that, usually much shorter than that. But you have 10 minutes if you wish to use those. And also, if you find you just can't possibly get all the information in within those 10 minutes, I will ask the committee if they'll afford you a couple of more minutes. But I don't know that that's ever happened, or if it has, it very rarely. So, but in fact, we do offer that. All right. Having said all that, we'll now move to the agenda, and we're looking at, got a list, file number D20-2025-076 and D03-2025-049, and this is 7158 Sadoa Road, Geographic Township of Dalton, Mr. Okawat, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is in regards to a proposed lot line adjustment that requires a minor variance at 7158 Sadoa Road. The property is situated in a rural area with access from Sadoa Road. The property is surrounded by agricultural and residential uses and is currently containing 2 single detached dwellings. The proposal is to facilitate a lot line adjustment between the 2 abutting properties. Land is to be severed from the subject property being 7158 Sadoa Road and added to the benefiting property being 7246 Sadoa Road. As a result, the lot area of 7158 Sadoa Road will decrease and the lot area of 7246 Sadoa Road will increase. As a result, relief is required from the rural general zone provision for the required lot area minimum. The property is designated as rural under the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan. The official plan states that a severance for a minor lot line adjustment in the rural designation may be permitted, provided it does not create a separate building lot that would otherwise require an amendment to this plan. The lot line adjustments is minor in nature, consolidating land with the adjacent farmlands that already contain a single detached dwelling. No new lot is being created as a result of the proposed lot line adjustment. The subject property is zoned rural general and environmental protection under the Township of Dalton zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw that requires a minimum lot area of 36 hectares in the rural general zone. The proposed lot area is 15.27 hectares. The general intent and purpose of requiring a large minimum lot size in the rural general zone is to protect the long-term viability of farmland and maintaining the rural character of the area. The primary use of the subject property, 7158 Sadoa Road, will remain residential, and the reduced lot size will not affect this use. The severed land will be added to existing farming operations on the adjacent property, 7246 Sadoa Road. By consolidating the severed parcel with an existing farm, the proposal avoids fragmentation of agricultural land. The retained residential lot remains appropriately sized to support a dwelling while preserving open space. Although the retained lot is smaller than the minimum requirement, it remains sufficient to accommodate the existing residential use and does not prevent the lot from being used for agricultural purposes in the future if the desired use of the property was to change. The reduced size does not undermine rural character, and it allows the severed land to be efficiently used for farming as it will be added to an existing agricultural operation. Comments were also received after the writing of the report from the Building and Septic Division, as well as the Engineering Department, indicating they have no concerns. Comments were also received from the Kawartha Regional Conservation Authority, stating that they were not in support due to potential wetlands in the area. These comments provide valuable insight, and they can certainly help guide future updates to the zoning bylaw. They would also be relevant should the property owner ever choose to apply for a zoning bylaw amendment. However, in this case, a minor variance for a lot area and a consent for a lot line adjustment are not the proper mechanisms to require wetlands to be rezoned. Neither of these applications changes the existing permitted uses on the property. As a result, no new uses are being introduced within the wetland area that are not already permitted today. For this reason, while the comments are important, staff believes they do not form a basis for denying either of the applications before us. In conclusion, staff acknowledges the proposed consent represents good planning and that the minor variance meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. Staff recommends approval of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other questions of the planner? Mr. Finn.
Yes, through you, Chair. I wonder if you could just tell me the size of the existing property prior to the severance.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will bring it up in one moment.
Starting right out with the tough questions, Mr. Finn.
I was just reviewing the report before us, and it says site size 20.24 acres. And I'm not sure whether that's the whole of the existing lot, though.
If it's not readily accessible, Mr. O'Cowett, the applicant may be able to answer that one for us.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the original size of 7158 Sadoa is 20.24 hectares or 50 acres.
Right. Okay, so then it's the existing lot is not complying with the bylaw as it stands.
That is correct.
Right. Thank you.
Further questions, planner, Mr. Strangway?
Thank you. Just a quick one. Did I hear you say that Kawartha Conservation does not support this? And if that is the case, just in real simple terms, I'm trying to understand why it's just a lot adjustment, why Kawartha Conservation wouldn't support it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe in Kawartha Conservation's report, their policies do not permit any kind of severance through wetlands. They believe that there are wetlands, but they can't confirm without an official study being done on the property. So therefore they chose not to recommend any kind of lot line adjustment. But it's of staff's opinion that because there's no zoning changes, so there's anything that's already permitted on the property on that land wouldn't change. So having that change to another property shouldn't have any adverse effects on the environment over there. So we believe that it still would maintain good planning through that standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Is the applicant here or online? Does the applicant wish to speak to the application? I'm told he's there.
Here we go.
Your name, sir?
Hi,
Your name?
Brent Bunker.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Land's just going to be added on to the farm field.
All right, nothing further to say on it?
No, it's nice and dry. So. There is rock on the north side, and the west side the fields will be moved out. The price of hay has gone up, and yeah.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, being none. Is there anyone here online that wishes to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to this application, opposition to the application? Being none, committee, where are we? Strangway?
As recommended by staff.
Do I have a seconder? Mr. Finn? Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? To the planner, Mr. O'Cowett, do you wish to have a separate motion with respect to the conditions of consent?
Through the chair, yes.
All right. So what are we dealing with first then?
So through the chair, for the variance approved and the consent as well.
And then which?
Conditions approved.
All right, so we'll go with the approval first. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, all right. So Mr. Strangway, you're okay with that?
It's good.
Mr. Finn, you seconded. You're okay with that? All right. Any further comments or questions on the motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. All right, now we're moving to the conditions of consent. I need a motion for those. And I see nothing happening. Oh, Mr. Finn. Seconded by Mr. Erickson. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. All right. You're Mr. O'Cowett?
Yes.
All right. Your application is approved, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. We're now dealing with file number D20-2025-077, and this is 67 Queen Street, former town of Lindsay. Mr. Okawit, you're on again, sir.
Thank you. The property is situated in the former town of Lindsay with access from Queen Street. The property contains a commercial building constructed in 1960 according to data from Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, and is surrounded by commercial and residential uses. The proposal is to facilitate the change of use for the existing building to be used as a commercial gym. Relief is required from the minimum number of parking spaces. The subject property is zoned mixed residential commercial under the Town of Lindsay zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw requires 1 parking space per 25 square meters of gross floor area for a personal service establishment. Based on the size of the building, the required number of parking spaces is 25. The proposed number of parking spaces is 15. The purpose of requiring additional parking for different uses is to ensure that sufficient on-site spaces are available to meet demand and minimize impacts of surrounding properties. In this case, the reduced parking that is proposed is appropriate given the site's close proximity to surrounding residential neighborhoods, which allows many patrons to walk to the gym. Furthermore, gym users typically arrive and depart at staggered times throughout the day rather than all at once, which helps to balance parking demand. Comments were also received after the writing of the report from the building division and the engineering department, indicating that they have no concerns. Comments were also received from a member of the public indicating their support for the application, and staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions of the planner? Being none, is the applicant here? Yes, all right. I recognize that face. If you give us your name again, I'd appreciate it.
Vanessa Archer from TD Consulting. Just here if there's any additional questions.
All right. Are there any questions of the planner? Being none, your easy day. All right. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? Yes, sir. You're for support? All right, go ahead. Your name, first of all.
My name is William Burke. I officially go by Bill, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir, and through you to committee members and staff. I've lived in Lindsay, worked for the town of Lindsay and the city of Kawartha Lakes since 1975. I ceased working for the city in 2005. During my tenure of that, I was part of municipal law enforcement, building, planning, so I completely understand the need for zoning bylaws and what they're supposed to do to protect people in the area, such as residences and other businesses. In this case, we have a business that was forced to move. A former landlord gave the owner 60 days notice to find a location. This was the only suitable location he could find within the city to accommodate a need that is much needed in this community. Going to a facility such as this not only improves our mental and physical health, it gives us that social environment to get rid of stressors that we have in everyday life. This facility has allowed me personally to not only increase my health, mental and physically, but my lifespan by several years, according to my doctor. I was able to use this facility at the old location and the new location to successfully do that. I think that allowing this as it's proposed is not going to cause any negative impact in the area. As was suggested by the planner, people who live in the area do walk to it. We see this on a regular basis. I did submit a written report that was received, and I should have been reading it, but I haven't been, so I'm just going to look at it quickly to make sure I'm covering the points that I want. As I say, the owner chose this location because he wanted to keep the business operating within the city of Kawartha Lakes. Were there options elsewhere? Yes, there were. But this is a local person operating an independently owned gym, local business, supporting a local landlord in this building. So he wanted to keep that within the community. He's done everything he's supposed to do, required for applying for building permits, for the minor variance, following all the rules to ensure that he does comply as required. And when he found out he wasn't in compliance with regards to the parking, he hired the appropriate people to take the steps to get that done. And that's why we're here today. I speak obviously in support of this as something that I think is beneficial to the community in an area that will have zero negative impact on the residents or other commercial businesses in that location. And again, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee members and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, sir, just hang on for a minute. There may be a question of you from the committee. Are there any questions? Thank you. We appreciate your time, sir. All right. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to this application, opposition to the application? All right. Being none, committee. Ms. Richardson.
As recommended by staff.
Do I have a seconder? Mr. Erickson. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none, all those in favor? And that carries. All right. Your application is approved. We're dealing with file number D20-2025-078, and this is 142.5 Birch Point Drive, Geographic Township, Emily. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated on the shoreline of Pigeon Lake with access from Birch Point Road. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling that was recently constructed in May of this year. The existing dwelling had a minor variance approved in 2023 for its construction. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of a new lakeside deck from the first story of the dwelling. Relief is required from the interior side yard setback and water setback. The proposed structure aligns with what one would typically see on a low-density residential property, and this is evident across the many neighboring lots along the shoreline. So looking at the interior side yard setback here, the proposed deck is to be accessible from the first story, and relief is required from the proposed 2.8 meter east side yard setback. The proposed deck does not extend further in to the side yard than what is currently existing from the dwelling, and access and privacy is still provided, and lot coverage also remains compliant. And just for comparative purposes, in many of the other city zoning bylaws, the proposed side yard would comply for what is considered a low-density residential lot. With respect to the water setback, the proposed deck is limited in its potential for location due to existing siting of the dwelling. The proposed deck does not bring habitable space closer to the shoreline, and no changes or impacts to the shoreline are anticipated. Moving on to comments, after the writing of the report, the building division stated they have no comments. The supervisor Part 8 sewage system stated they have no issue with the minor variance proposal as it relates to private on-site sewage disposal. And the development engineering division stated they have no objection to the application. The Kawartha Region Conservation Authority also stated they are in support of the application and that a permit will be required. To conclude, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the planner? Mr. Finn?
Through you, Chair. You said the existing dwelling required variances. Were those essentially the same, the water setback and the side yard setback?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yep. It was the water setback, side yard setback, and I believe there was one more relief for the actual size of the lot. Those were the 3 setbacks.
All right. Thank you.
Further questions of the planner? All right, being none. I believe TD Consulting is on again. For the record, we'd like your name, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Vanessa Archer from TD Consulting. Thank you to the planner for the review of this and the report. Don't really have anything additional to add. The septic is in the front, so as Sue just said, they don't have an issue with it. KRCA did require a Section 59, which we've already received, and we will do the permit for the deck once this is approved.
Questions of the deputy? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? In support of this application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? I'm advised none. Committee? Mr. Strangway?
Excuse me, as recommended by staff, thanks.
And a seconder, Ms. Richardson? All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none, all those in favor? And that carries. The application is approved. All right. Moving right along, and I mean that literally. All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-079, and this is 4413 Highway 35, Geographic Township of Fenelon. And Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated in the geographic township of Fenelon with access from Highway 35. The lots in the area vary in size and in shape, many with irregular configurations. Based on the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, the surrounding area is primarily low-density residential uses with portions of their lands farmed for agriculture. So the subject property currently contains various structures, most of which are more than 100 years old. There are two existing single detached dwellings on the property, one constructed in the year 1890 and the other more recently constructed in the year 2024. The remaining structures are all used for personal storage and/or agricultural storage. The application seeks to facilitate the registration of the existing dwelling, the one that's constructed in 1890, as the ARU, or the additional residential unit, while deeming the newly constructed dwelling from 2024 as the primary dwelling. The application does not alter the property's use or conflict with surrounding land uses and built form. So the zoning bylaw requires accessory structures to be located in the side or rear yard, and the existing dwelling that is to be registered as an ARU is located in the front yard. The subject property is guarded by an existing line of vegetation at its front lot line, buffering views of the property from Highway 35. Moreover, both the existing dwellings are 1 story in height, and the proposed already constructed primary dwelling is larger in gross floor area. With respect to lot coverage, although the total number of square meters is exceeded, as the property is around 69.7 acres in size, the proportion covered by accessory structure built form, which is at 0.2%, is quite minimal, and ample open space is provided in the compliant front, rear, and side yards. Moving on to comments, after the writing of the report, the building division stated they have no comments. The supervisor of Part 8 sewage system stated they have no issue with the minor variance proposal, and the development engineering division stated they have no objection to the application. As the property fronts along Highway 35, the Ministry of Transportation was circulated, but they were not able to make comments in time. So I added a condition to ensure a permit or any approvals are applied for in case they are needed. And the revised conditions have been provided to committee. In conclusion, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, and we respectfully recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you. Does everyone have a copy of the amendment? All right. Mr. Strangway, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Shahid, help me understand why this is here. I'm just thinking the original house was the 1890s, and then the new house was built in 2024. So they must have had a building permit for it and so on. So why are they needing to apply for an ARU now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and I believe the applicant is here too, so they can clarify if they determine need be. But I believe what happened was that they were constructing this well, they applied for a building permit to construct the 2024 dwelling, and originally the plans were to demolish the older dwelling. So that would mean that they would have one permitted primary dwelling on their property. But the problem is that they wanted to keep the older dwelling as well. And the best way to keep it there was to go through and register it as an ARU.
I understand. That's great. Thanks for that answer.
Anything further from committee? All right. Is the applicant here? Okay. And your name, sir?
Nolan Presley, I'm the owner of the property. I'm here to take any questions that you guys have. I guess for me to say, we really just want to try and add to the housing of the area and keep the old farmhouse as be for right now, as long as we can.
Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? In support of this application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application. Committee. Ms. Richards.
The amended.
On the floor. Being none. All those in favor? And that carries. Your application is approved, sir. We're now dealing with file number D20-2025-080, and this is 25 Loon Lane, Geographic Township of Verlin. Mr. Okawit, you're on again, sir.
Thank you. The subject property is situated along Sturgeon Lake with access from the private road Loon Lane. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling, a utility structure, and 2 sheds. The proposal is to construct the construction of a detached garage. Relief is required from the maximum permitted height for accessory structures. The subject property is zoned limited service residential under the Township of Verulem zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 5 meters for accessory structures in a residential zone or accessory to a residential zone. The proposed height of the detached garage is 5.6 meters. The purpose of this provision is to control the height of accessory structures, ensuring the visual character of the area is maintained and that neighboring properties are not overshadowed. The proposed height is intended to support the functional design of the garage and provide adequate space for both storage and vehicle parking. Although the garage will be larger than the cottage, the intent of the zoning bylaw to regulate massing and protect neighborhood character is still maintained, as the structure is consistent with all other tall accessory buildings found in the area. Comments were received after the writing of the report from the Septic Division that adds a condition that states approval under the Ontario Building Code pertaining to private sanitary waste disposal to be obtained within a period of 24 months after the date of notice of decision. This condition will be considered fulfilled upon achievement of compliance to the satisfaction of the supervisor of Part 8 sewage systems. Comments were also received after the writing of the report from the Building Division and Engineering Department, indicating that they have no concerns. Staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions of the planner? Mr. Finn?
Through you, Mr. Chair, is Loon Lane a private road?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, Loon Lane is a private road.
So there's no severance of this lot?
No.
Thank you.
Anything further from committee? All right, being none. Is the applicant here or online? Does the applicant wish to speak to the application? Doesn't appear as though there is anyone that would speak to it. Committee, where are we? Mr. Finn? Seconder, Mr. Strangway? Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right. We're dealing with file number D20-2025-081, and this is no civic address, Doubletree Road, Geographic Township of Ops. Mr. Okawat, go ahead.
Thank you. The subject property is situated along Highway 35 with access from the highway, Willowdale Court, and Doubletree Road. The property is currently vacant as the surrounding area is predominantly commercial. The proposal is for the construction of a 2-story car dealership. Furthermore, there are multiple car dealerships in close proximity as the surrounding area is predominantly commercial. Relief is requested from the front yard setback, parking stall length, number of loading spaces, and number of parking spaces. The subject property is zoned Highway Commercial Exception 7 under the Township of Ops zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum parking space length of 6 meters. In this proposal, the parking spaces are designed at 5.8 meters in length. While this represents a marginal deficiency, the space remains fully functional for standard vehicles and do not compromise circulation or safety on site. The intent of this provision was to provide safe and efficient access, parking, and maneuvering, and this continues to be met. The zoning bylaw also requires 1 parking space for every 5 square meters of net floor area, which would amount to 380 spaces for this proposal. This development, however, is proposing 79 parking spaces. The intent of this provision is to ensure that sufficient parking is available to accommodate the expected demand generated by the use. In this case, the proposed reduction recognizes the nature of the development and its actual parking needs, which are anticipated to be significantly lower than the zoning standard. Furthermore, the site design provides safe circulation and access, ensuring the parking that is provided functions effectively. The zoning bylaw further requires 2 loading spaces. The proposed number of loading spaces is 1. The intent of the loading space requirement is to ensure that developments can accommodate the movement of goods and services on site in an orderly and efficient manner while only 1 loading space is proposed. The scale of the operation is such that a second space is not expected to be necessary to support day-to-day functions. Finally, Section 10.2 requires a minimum front yard setback of 15 meters. The proposed setback is 14.7 meters. This represents a very minor reduction, and it does not negatively affect safety, visibility, or the overall streetscape. Adequate space for landscaping, access, and sightlines are still maintained. Comments were also received after the writing of the report from the Building and Septic Division, as well as the Engineering Department, indicating they have no concerns. Furthermore, as comments were not received from the Ministry of Transportation before today's committee hearing, a condition has been added that any approval or permits required by the Ministry of Transportation are applied for and granted prior to the issuance of a building permit. In summary, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, committee, do you have copies of the amendment? I'm assuming you do. All right, Mr. Strangway, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through to Mr. Cowett. Just wondered if you had a further comment. We talk about minor variances. The actual recommended number of parking spots are 380, and we're looking at 79. So that's a quarter of what's recommended. And yet, on one side, I say 7980 spaces for a car dealership seems quite adequate. So is the issue here that requiring 380 spaces unrealistic? Or, how do we kind of get our head around this idea where we're comfortably recommending a quarter of the number that supposedly are recommended?
Through the chair. Yeah, I totally see your point with how the zoning bylaw states that there would be a need for 380 parking spots. It's my opinion that the zoning ensures that there is some kind of a standard and guideline that we go off of. But when we look at these minor variances, we try to look at what the intent behind the behind the zoning bylaw was. In this case, it was to ensure that there was adequate amount of parking to permit those amounts of people coming in. And we're able to look at it as a case-by-case basis through that. So by examining this minor variance, we were able to see that there is adequate parking for a day-to-day use for a car dealership, and that 380 might represent an unneeded amount that they would require. They are, and there might be outdated provisions to that represent a zoning bylaw that was created over 30 years ago that would require more parking spaces. So those are my general thoughts on that.
Okay, thanks. Thinking of the car dealers around Lindsay, I'm thinking if there's 80 spots at any of them, that's likely a lot. And to think of 380 just doesn't seem realistic. Thank you for your comments, and I appreciate it.
Anything further of committee? Mr. Finn?
Yeah, just following up on that, have you compared other car dealerships to this proposed one? It seems to me there's a car dealership just down the road from it there, Willowdale.
Through the chair. Yes, when we do look at these minor variances, we do look at it as a case by case. Obviously, there is some thought behind looking at different car dealerships around. Overall, they seem to be around the same footprint, and I believe they represent the same amount of parking spaces. But yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Finn, follow up?
No, thank you.
Anything further from committee? All right, being none. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Okay, and your name, sir?
Steve Curtis from MV Wilson Engineering.
All right, please go ahead.
So speaking of the parking spaces, I did want to point out just this morning, we noticed that on our actual application form, we had requested relief down to 70 rather than 79. The reason for this was to allow for some flexibility in the site design, as we're also working through site plan approval to allow for maneuverability on site, fire truck access, garbage access. We did design the site initially using the City of Kawartha Lakes Consolidated Rural Zoning Bylaw, which is now under appeal, but at the time we'd started design, that was the bylaw in effect. And using that bylaw, I believe the actual required number of parking spaces was somewhere around 60 to 65. So quite a bit less than the 380 today. And also to provide some context, in the town of Lindsay, I think the proportion is 1 for every 20 square meters rather than 1 for every 5. We also have quite a bit of parking over and above the ones that are counted. There are 10 to 13 spaces that are used for display and inventory only because they're not readily accessible day to day. So those would be in addition to the 70 that we're asking for. There's also some parking spaces closer to the highway that are not able to be counted because they're in an area that is potentially going to be expropriated by MTO if they ever widen Highway 35. So that is also in addition to those parking spaces shown. So I don't know if there's any mechanism during today's meeting to have this changed to 70 as we had asked for in our form, or if it would be the 79.
Well, I'm going to go to Mr. O'Cullett. The comments from the applicant, and he's asked for us to look at 70. Where are you with that?
Through the chair, just give me one moment to discuss with my team.
Do you have anything further you wish to say?
I don't think so.
Thank you. I would just advise those that are here and online that this happens frequently with us because I've said this 100 times, but I'll make it 101. We're here to make informed decisions, not just decisions. So sometimes there's further consultation required, and we allow that to go on.
Through the chair. Yeah, so through this, when we were looking at the site plan, it does say 79 parking spaces, which is what we had on the notice that went out to the public. I do see that they, in their application, they also said 70. Is of staff's opinion, in my opinion, that we are okay with the slight adjustment to 70. But the notice of advertisement that went out does state 79 parking spaces. But I don't see much of an issue with that. So it's up to committee to know how to proceed.
So it's an adjustment to 79, not the 70.
The adjustment was 79 as what the application states. But their proposal on their application that was not reflected on their site plan is 70. So that's another reduction of 9. They're asking for more relief, not less.
Yes. Mr. Finn, follow?
I'm just looking at Appendix C and totaling up what appear to be the parking spaces. I get 79. So perhaps the representative for the owner can indicate whether Appendix C is accurate. Yes.
Yes, the plan does show 79. We did state in our reason in 3.2 on the application form why we're asking for greater reduction than what's shown on the plan. As I said, we're working through site plan approval, and we want to make sure we have enough space to accommodate comments received in that process for fire truck maneuverability, garbage truck, things like that. It's a very tight site, so we're just trying to show some good faith by putting as much parking as we can while still leaving ourselves room to make sure the site is maneuverable.
Mr. Finn, follow up?
It's okay, thank you.
To the applicant, but also to the planner, are you given credit for the 4 spots in the drive-through service bays, as well as about 6 vehicles on the showroom floor?
Those would not be included in the 79 that are currently shown. So if those count, that does help us with our on-site parking.
Mr. Okawa, do you wish to?
Through the chair, usually we wouldn't count that, but as the applicant has stated that they are willing to provide 79, they just want to have a little breathing room when they go through site plan application, which is currently in process, just in case if there's any further reduction.
Thank you. You wish to carry on, sir?
I think that's all, unless anybody else has any questions.
Let's see. Questions from the committee? It would appear not. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application. Committee, taking into account the amended agenda and a further asked for amendment, where are we? Mr. Strang.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a recommendation to approve this with 70 parking spaces.
Do I have a seconder? Mr. Erickson, you want to speak to it further, Mr. Strangway?
No, I think Steve has indicated to us that, where they're trying to go, and we're trying to support new businesses and so on, and 70 seems like a reasonable number. The other thing I'm thinking is with the new amended bylaws, if I'm understanding him correctly, that the required number would be less than the 70. So, that's why I'm proposing what I am.
Mr. Erickson, do you wish to speak to it? No. Mr. O'Callaghan, I do believe you're comfortable with that?
Through the chair, yes, I am.
Further comments or questions with respect to the amended motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. Your application is approved, sir, with the 70 spots. We're moving with lightning speed here. All right, file number D20-2025-082, and this is 198 Lindsay Street North, former town of Lindsay. Ms. Evans.
Thank you. The subject property is designated urban settlement area under the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and residential under the Lindsay secondary plan. It's zoned residential 2 under the town of Lindsay zoning bylaw. The property is located in a residential neighborhood and contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1992 and a shed. And the purpose of the minor variance is to recognize the location of that shed. Apologies, remote difficulties. Someone else operated. Thank you, Ahmed. So the shed can be seen in yellow on the sketch here, and relief is needed from section 5.2BI, which requires a minimum setback of 1.5 meters for an accessory structure from a main building, so in this case, from the dwelling. The existing setback is 0.2 meters, as well as section 5.2BI requires a minimum setback of 1.25 meters for an accessory structure from an interior side lot line, and the existing setback is 0.2 meters. Access to the rear yard of the subject property is located on the southern side of the dwelling, so the location of the shed does not impede any access. If any maintenance was ever required to either the back of the shed or the wall of the dwelling, the shed is relatively small in size, so its location could be temporarily adjusted to facilitate that maintenance. There is a wooden fence right between the shed and the neighboring property, as you can see in these photos. So the photo on the left here, there's a patio kind of in the foreground, and the shed can be seen in the background. And then the photo on the right was taken from the window of the dwelling, kind of looking down on the shed. And you can see the shed, the fence, and there's also the neighbor has a very similarly sized shed that is also in similar proximity to the shared lot line there. So that fence provides both a physical and a visual buffer from the shed to the neighboring property. And again, as the shed does not contain any habitable space, privacy issues are not anticipated here. No comments of concern raised by any of the circulated agencies, and comments of support were received from 2 property owners, one of which being the property owner directly to the north of the subject property, which would be the property closest to the subject shed. Based on the contents of the report, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Questions of the planner? Being none, is the applicant here or online?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Your name, please?
Catherine Toole.
Please go ahead.
Well, I think Ms. Evans did a pretty good job of explaining the property and the problems we're having, but I just wanted to mention that the shed was there when my son bought the property 9 years ago, so he has not moved it. They had a lot of problems with drainage, and he's done a lot of landscaping around the shed to provide drainage so that there is no more drainage of water into the house. They had a couple of floods in the basement, so everything has been fixed as far as the drainage is concerned. And if he moved the shed, it would destroy some of the drainage that he has provided using crushed limestone and river rock and everything. It would all have to be moved and redone. So it's not just a simple moving the shed that he could do. It would be a lot of landscaping again where the shed is. The shed has a sloped roof, so the roof also drains into these drainage ditches that go away from the edge of the house. And I also want to mention that this is not the only shed that's close to the fence or to the property. Other sheds in the area are also close as well. It's just that this one has been selected to be a problem by another neighbor. I guess that's about all I need to say.
All right, thank you for that. You've been most informative, and I mean that. All right. Any questions of the applicant? All right, being none. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Being none, committee. Mr. Finn?
As recommended by staff.
Seconder, Mr. Erickson? All right, any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none, all those in favor? And that carries. All right, your application is approved.
Oh my God! I can hear.
I'm not sure if she'll like that or not. All right, moving right along. We're now dealing with file number D20-2025-083, and this is no civic address, St. David Street, former town of Lindsay. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is a vacant lot with no civic address currently, located in the former town of Lindsay, with access from St. David's Street. The area surrounding the property is primarily characterized by industrial lands, commercial uses, and low-density residential uses. Many of the surrounding lands contain industrial uses with commercial elements, while the broader area also has lots with single detached dwellings. The subject property is currently vacant and completely vegetated, abutting an unopened road allowance to the north. So the proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of a one-story industrial building. The property is also currently undergoing and subject to a site plan control process. According to the applicant, the building is to be leased out, and any specific industrial use would have to comply with what is permitted under the applicable zone. The proposed building and its intended industrial use aligns with the surrounding area and the broader context. So the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 12 meters, and the proposed setback from the building is 9 meters. As a result of the site plan application process, a 3-meter road widening is required along the frontage of the subject property. As a result of that road widening, the proposed front yard setback becomes deficient by 3 meters, requiring this relief. Based on aerial imagery, along St. David Street, lots containing existing industrial buildings are generally 12 to 15 meters from their front lot lines. On the slide, the lots highlighted with stars are industrial buildings with setbacks that appear to be the same as what is being proposed, if no road widening was required. So when I measured the setbacks here using aerial imagery, all of them appear to be just at around 12 meters. So at ground level, the proposed industrial building will align with the neighboring industrial lots on St. David Street. Low-density residential lots containing single detached dwellings along St. David Street appear to be typically located closer than 10 meters from their front lot lines. And this is permitted under the zoning bylaw. Moving on to comments, after the writing of the report, the building division stated they have no comments, and the development engineering division stated they have no objection to the application. Public comments were received from one of the southern neighbors. with various concerns regarding the specific use of the industrial warehouse and targeted time of construction and fencing. I responded to the public member by email clarifying some of their concerns, and I also spoke with them earlier today as well. And the email was sent to our committee members prior to this meeting. Regarding the targeted time of construction and fencing, these are to be determined through the site plan process, and I have reached out to the planner in charge of the site plan file, and will connect the public member with them if they would like to stay updated. I myself will also update the public member as with info as the site plan application proceeds. To conclude, staff acknowledges application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, and we respectfully recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shahid. Well done. All right. Are there any questions of the planner?
Through you.
I'll get to you in a minute, ma'am. Mr.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just for some clarification, it seems to me you've indicated that during the site plan process, the municipality required 3 meters. I assume that's for potential road widening in the future. But at the same time, at the time of the site plan approval, the city would have been aware that there's a 12-meter setback. So would it not be saying that this building should still maintain the 12-meter setback, even though it's requiring a 3-meter extension of the road allowance? I'm just a little confused how you, on behalf of the city, can now be saying it's okay to only have 9 meters, whereas at the site plan process, the municipality would have been aware that it's a 12-meter setback.
Mr. Shahid? Sure, you stayed up last night to figure this out.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not in charge of the site plan file, but what I can say is essentially what was proposed for the site plan application was originally compliant. During the site plan application process, there are multiple submissions that are made, and as departments submit comments, so that it's up to the applicant to make those revisions to satisfy the departments. So through one of the submissions, and the engineering department commented that St. David Street isn't at its width that it needs to be. So for that reason, they would need a road widening of 3 meters. And because of that road widening, obviously now a minor variance is needed. The actual setback, it being deficient of 9 meters, I think that is appropriate to proceed here, just because when we're looking at adjacent industrial lots at ground level, it would align when you're looking at it from the road, and the building can't be moved further back because of driveway width requirements and so on. So for that reason, I think the 9-meter front yard setback is appropriate and passes the 4-part test. I hope that clarifies your question.
Yes, that's some help, but just looking at the 2 properties with the stars on your image on the screen, I think you said they have a 12-meter setback, but that, I take it, is before a 3-meter road allowance extension has been taken.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct. So,
and that's why they align.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes. So road widening was not taken on those properties, and I'm not sure if any of those properties did go through a site plan process or any type of Planning Act application process. Mm-hmm. If they would have, perhaps maybe a road widening would have been required, but those buildings are there, and when you're looking, like, let's say for example, the proposed industrial building today would be constructed. So on aerial imagery, it would look like it's from the same distance from the road. It's just when we look at it from the front lot line, the measurement would differ, but at ground level, aerial imagery, it would appear to be the same.
Thank you.
Further questions of the planner? All right. Are you the applicant? No. Yeah, I'll get to you. All right. Is the applicant here or on? Well, there we go. Well, and again, for the record, your name, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Vanessa Archer from TD Consulting. Thank you for clarifying that question that was posed there regarding the setbacks. We've kind of faced this on a number of consents lately where the engineering asks for road widenings on them. As explained, those other buildings that are there already, probably they've been dated there for quite a while. I'm well aware of the area. Our office is fairly close, and I used to work in that industrial area previous to this employment, so well aware of that area. And most of those buildings are closer than the 12-meter, what would be once they take a 3-meter widening down the street the rest of the way. So I'm just here if there's any additional questions.
Well, let's see if there are. Are there any further questions of the deputant? All right, thank you. All right. Now, is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? Support of the application. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to it? Yes, come forward, please. And your name, please?
Erica.
All right.
I am the neighbor to the south that had emailed in some questions, and I just wanted to make sure our concerns were voiced. I understand that if this variant hadn't been an issue with the setback, this building would have already been approved, but we run a home daycare right next door, and because it's a vacant lot right now, there's not a sufficient fence in place, and we just really want to make sure that there is a proper fence set in for when or if construction begins. And also, just a little concerned of what's going in there, just for our children and for the other children in the neighborhood.
Now, you've discussed it with the planner?
Yes, I have received an email back. I just want to voice it again in person.
Oh, all right.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Opposition to the application? Yes, ma'am. And your name, please. Yes, there you go.
Lorene Liddell.
Thank you, go ahead.
I also live next door. I'm concerned that you're not doing the 12 meters back because that road, we have no sidewalks. There's a lot of children that walk to school buses. There's trucks going up and down both ways all day long. And I'm quite concerned about it not being back further.
All right, Mr. Shahid, any response to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate both the public members coming out here to voice their concerns. It's always good to get a local perspective on these applications. The road widening is there, has been requested by engineering, and when a road widening is done, it allows the city to install, for example, something like a sidewalk in the future. Visually on ground, it even makes sense to have the building setback at 9 meters because it's going to visually align with the adjacent buildings there. But yeah, that's all I have to say for that.
Thank you, and I do appreciate you consulting with the community as well. That's good. Do you wish to respond to the comments that were made by the public?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I can just add to the site plan approval process. Our company is not the applicant on that. However, I have seen the drawings for that. I do know that there is a 1.8 meter landscape buffer that is required there. I believe it, don't quote me, but I believe it's a chain link fence and then trees and shrubs that are being proposed in there to protect that visually, and again, a chain link fence to protect the neighboring property through that. Again, it's not our file, but I have seen those drawings, and I do know that through the site plan approval process, they will have to answer those questions further as well regarding sightline and buffer.
Anything further from committee? All right, being none. I think I went through there's no further ones for support or opposition, I don't believe. All right. Committee, where are we? Ms. Richardson.
As recommended by staff.
All right. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Strangway? All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. for everyone here, the application is approved as written. Right. Moving right along, we're dealing with file number D20-2025-084, and this is 131 Oak Dean Crescent, Geographic Township, Mariposa. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated on the shoreline of Lake Scugog with access from Oak Dean Crescent, and the property currently contains a single detached dwelling and detached garage. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of an enclosed breezeway between the existing detached garage and dwelling. So the proposed development would attach the existing garage to the existing dwelling. The proposal does not alter the use of the land and is a minimal change to the built form of the subject property. So the proposed breezeway is not located in the side yard, nor does it create any further encroachment. Relief is required due to the change in the form of the existing detached garage. As a result of the proposed breezeway, the existing garage would be considered attached and subject to the RR3 zone provisions. The side yard setbacks will remain unchanged. Looking at the water setback, the existing dwelling is situated 24.5 meters from the shoreline. Therefore, the proposed breezeway does not bring habitable space closer to the shoreline beyond what currently exists. Also, the proposed breezeway is not wholly located within the water setback, but obviously placement locations are very restricted as it is constrained to where the existing dwelling and garage are sited, and no changes to the shoreline are anticipated. Looking at comments, after the writing of the report, the building division stated they have no comments. The supervisor Part 8 sewage system stated they have no issue with the minor variance proposal, and the development engineering division stated they have no objection to the application. The Kawartha Region Conservation Authority stated they are in support of the application and that a permit will be required. All in all, staff acknowledges application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, and we respectfully recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
And before we go any further, I just wanted to ask the ladies at the back there, you're clear on what just happened? Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure of that. And thank you very much for taking the time to come out. We appreciate that too. All right. Questions of the planner? Being none. Is the applicant online? Does the applicant wish to speak to? I am advised no. All right. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? In support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Opposition to the application? All right. Committee, where are we? Ms. Richardson.
As recommended by staff.
All right. Seconded by Mr. Finn. All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. All right. Certainly not least, we're dealing with file number D20-2025-085. This is 55 Algonquin Road, Geographic Township, Mariposa. And again, Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated in a residential agricultural area with access from Algonquin Road. The property is rectangular in shape with sparse vegetation bordering the property along its lot lines. The property currently contains a 2-story single detached dwelling, an additional residential unit, and a chicken coop. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of an accessory storage building. The zoning bylaw permits a maximum accessory structure lot coverage of 10% of the lot area to a maximum of 150 square meters. The proposed accessory structure lot coverage is 261 square meters or 3.2%. So although the total numbers of square meters is exceeded, as the property is around 2 acres in size, the proportion covered by accessory structure built form at 3.2%, is quite minimal in comparison to the 10% permitted. And ample open space is provided in the compliant front, rear, and side yards. Regarding the height, the proposed location of the detached garage is situated in the furthest location from the public view, guarded by tall vegetation from neighboring properties. And the primary dwelling and ARU remain the visually dominant structures, as they're located in the front yard, and they are the closest structures to the public view when seen from the road. In terms of comments, after the writing of the report, the building division stated they have no comments. The supervisor of Part 8, sewage system, stated they have no issue with the proposal. And the development engineering division stated they have no objection to the application. To conclude, we acknowledge the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, and we recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the planner? All right, being none. Is the applicant online? Does the applicant wish to speak to the application? I'm advised no. Is there anyone here? Well, I guess there's no one here. So anyone online wishing to speak in support of this application, support of the application? Anyone online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Being none, committee, where are we? Mr. Finn?
As recommended by staff.
All right. Mr. Erickson, second. I saw your hand there. All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All those in favor? And that carries. All right. Thank you very much. All right. That concludes the business of the meeting. Under other business, anything further from committee? Questions, comments? Mr. Strangway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to go back to one application. I have a general question from a month ago. There was an application for a boathouse on Balsam Lake that was completely over the water. I asked a couple of questions about it, and on the way home I thought, why didn't I ask that? And my question was, because the application was completely over the water, the boathouse, and Trent Severn and Kawartha Conservation approved, how do we as a municipality become involved in the application when the boathouse is completely over the water?
Who handled that? Do you know, who's the planner? Do you remember? Looks like you're on, Mr. Heath.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yep, that was me. Just give me a second to look back at the application just so I can jog my memory back. I don't have the best of memories, so I'm just going to take a look at the application. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for that quick break there. So the zoning bylaw actually speaks to situations like this. They have specific provisions allowing for a boathouse to be completely built over the water. And in this case, the water body actually had its own specific zone, the EP zone. And this was caught by someone within the building department, so a permit.
Just to hold a second. Mr. Erickson, I was just going to ask because it's rather distracting when you got another.
So for that reason, a building permit is needed to construct a boathouse within one of the zones, and before the building division can issue a building permit, relief was needed. So for that reason, it came through committee. Does that answer your question? They're essentially, the zoning bylaw speaks to situations where you're constructing a boathouse wholly within the water. And it has specific provisions when you're constructing it wholly within the water versus halfway or when it's on land.
Yeah, and that was my point. It's rare we see one which is completely over the water. And that's why I thought, okay, so if it's completely over the water, is that not Trent Severn and Kawartha Conservation as opposed to City of Kawartha Lakes? And how did we become involved in this?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So they would need a permit from the city as well. On the top of that, they would need permits from Trent Severn, and I believe they actually did get permits from Trent Severn. But just because they get a permit from TS Trent Severn Waterway doesn't mean that they wouldn't need a permit from the city.
Okay. I'm still not really clear, but I'll leave it at that right now. It's I certainly wondered.
Do I speak to it?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And just to dovetail the planner's responses, because he is spot on, and maybe if we just further articulate, a building permit under the Ontario Building Code can only be issued by the city. That isn't an area that the Trent Severn Waterway, Parks Canada, has any authority over. So the determination was made by our chief building official that a permit was needed. Again, that's a building permit, separate to any licensing or permissions that are granted from TSW for use of the waterway. And you're right, we do not see many boathouses completely over the water. It's not, the first, but it has been a number of years that possibly it would have been in front of the committee.
Thanks for that, Ms. Berry. I do appreciate it.
And thanks, Mr. Shahid and Director Berry. Yes. Anything further from committee? Pretty quiet lot. Anything further from staff? Ms. Berry?
No, things are just tickety-boo, plowing through voluminous numbers of variances and consents in the Committee of Adjustment portfolio. Currently, there is some additional training that is underway with a new member of the Committee of Adjustment team, so stay tuned for that. But the folks that you see here beside me are all helping train up this new individual so we can bring you even more work. You are going to see slightly elevated volumes in the next couple of agendas so that we can close out the year in good stead for 2026. We have 2 meetings left, I believe the calendar says. So I'm not saying anything about the holidays that are in front of us, but we are at that time of the year going into the fourth quarter. So ramping up to get as much in front of you as we can.
So we're in great shape for the shape we're in. All right. Anything further from anyone? Yeah.
I noticed that Catherine is no longer the acting development supervisor. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And well deserved, we might add. All right. Anything further from committee or staff? No? All right. I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Finn, seconder. Ms. Richardson. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Don't see you before. We'll see you.